Welcome to Surrender School.
Today, you're here for Supercharge Your Recovery 2.0. We also call it Part B, and some of that is because we have these little B pins that people are going to get. Is it right? Yeah, that people are going to get during the retreat, which I'm very excited about. They're cute little B pins that I found. And also, early on, I talked about the reason the B is because bees can fly because they're flexible, and we are also flexible. So, Part B, the whole point of Part B is for us to go deeper. And so it will be fewer questions and deeper answers, except in step 4. There's quite a bit of work to do in step 4 when we get there, which is next. Actually, your assignment begins step 4 this week. All right, you'll almost always need a pen and paper. So what I do is I buy a beautiful journal and a really nice smooth pen, even if you don't take notes, because there will be some writing stuff as we go through. So what we've done so far are the first 6. If you look across from March 8th, which was last week, your assignment this week was your ego reaction to devotion, moving from your ego reaction about the world to devotion to the higher, greater power, and then let love lead the way. And then today is March 15th. So this is week 7. All right. The mission statement of Surrender School. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do try to adhere to the spirit of the traditions, and all of us that are involved in the making of things at Surrender School are all long-time 12-steppers, very steeped in the traditions and the steps. Let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out. Feel your feet on the floor. Be as present as you can possibly be today. Let everything from this morning and earlier go, and don't even think about the future. Just be present with us here in this room. And now together, let's say the Surrender School's version of the set-aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know, to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, awesome. All right, so the way that we do this is step 4, session 4A. So you're going to wrap up, when you go out to the breakout room, you're going to wrap up the homework that you did for step 3, and then we're going to move on to step 4. The breakout room is first, then 2 topics that cover the first 2 sections of step 4, and then I'll give you the homework assignment on what that is. All right, and this is Supercharge Your Recovery. All right, I'm going to do a quick visualization, and what I'd like you to do, I have it up here, but I'd prefer that you not read it, but I'm going to leave it up in case you are the type that likes to read it. But I'm going to ask you to basically just close your eyes and go back to your happy moment. We talked about there was probably a moment, just a moment in your life when you were completely happy. Regardless of what happened afterward, what happened before, there's a moment that, and those moments are usually like the first time you held your child. I think, Lori, it was your husband in your first kiss. It was right. There's a happy moment that when it can stand by itself, and we have the capacity to expand it when it can stand by itself. It's a moment when you are completely happy. So I want you to go to that moment in your mind and just be open and receptive to it, because that's how you end up taking it from your mind into your heart. Just relax and be open and receptive. Almost for sure, that happy place is tied to love. The love of another person, the love of a kind and generous God, which sometimes we only see in nature. But go there and realize that that happy moment is related to love almost 100% of the time. So keep your eyes closed, if you will, and lean into what I say when I talk about your type, because I'm going to go through some stuff about type right now. I'd like you to keep your eyes closed. When that's finished, I'll give you a chance to take a picture of the slide that I'm working on. And this will prepare you to share more fully in the breakout rooms. Okay, so just a deep breath, keep your eyes closed, and I will go over this. Okay, for the type 1, rather than having an inner critic and using that as a manager, let love lead the way by learning progress over perfection, and let grace be your guide. For type 2, rather than abandoning yourself, let love lead the way by learning to care for yourself as faithfully as you care for other people. For the type 3, rather than putting your image over honesty, let love lead the way by learning to be authentic. For the type 4, rather than longing or comparing, let love lead the way by learning presence and acceptance, which then can make you steady and grounded. For the type 5, rather than disengaging or pulling back, let love lead the way by learning that love replenishes rather than drains. For the type 6, rather than needing instant answers, let love lead the way by learning to find comfort in the unfolding of life. For the 7, rather than chasing or overindulging, let love lead the way by learning that true joy lives here. For the 8, rather than dominating your environment, let love lead the way by learning to find security in trust, especially trust of your higher power. And for the 9, rather than withdrawing to keep peace, stay present to live in peace. Okay, open your eyes. I want to tell a quick story about this scene from the final Lord of the Rings movie. They've gone through all these adventures and were heroic and all of this, and the hobbits were very heroic, all 4 of them. And this man, Aragorn, is crowned the king, and the hobbits begin to bow to him. And he says to them, "You bow to no one." It's one of my favorite scenes from the movie. And I realize that I lived my life bowing to no one, including my higher power. That's not good. And so one of the things I'm learning here is if you look back at this slide, rather than dominating my environment, to be able to find security in trusting my greater power. Ooh, really hard for an 8, really hard. All right, with that, I'm going to hand this off. I'll leave the slide up. I'm going to hand it off to Lori and Mary to go ahead and send you to your breakout rooms. So Lori or Mary, whichever was going to talk, go ahead.
Okay, I know there was some confusion last week, so we're hoping now that we're in a few weeks, we kind of know where we're going. If you're not on this list and you don't know where to go, just stay and Lori will let you know what room you're in. And the purpose of this is when Lori clicks breakout rooms, is you choose this room. Like, remember last week's, those that were here, we talked about it. You're not just choosing any room. Whatever breakout room you're assigned to, they're static. We voted, we chose that we want this. So you're going to stay with that same group of people. So please, if you're on the group for room 6, you simply choose group 6. If you're on the room 3, choose 3. Now, when you get there, if for some reason you only have 2 people and you're uncomfortable with just such a small group, simply come back to the main room and share, or Lori will get you in a larger group. Or if you're comfortable, stay with those 2 or 3 people and just, do what you need to do. The key is to get started quickly. 3-minute shares for everyone. If you're done before the 30 minutes is up, go around again or just talk, or please feel free to go back to the main breakout room. If you accidentally click, let's say 8, and you're in room 1, simply go back to the main room. There's a button you can click and they'll get you back to the right room. So, okay. So remember, step 3, questions, sections 3 and 4 is what you're discussing today. And remember, we're not there to be counselors. We're there to listen, move on, unless somebody asks for advice, If that's it, we're ready to go, Lori.
Thank you. And here we go. Enjoy, you guys. See you soon.
All right, so you went to the breakout rooms, which is good. And now we're going to move on. So the first topic that I want to cover, and once again, I want to say that the way that I'm doing it this year is I cover stuff right in here that you're going to go deeper into as your homework, right? That's what you're going to do for your homework, is go deeper into that. So I want to talk for a second about when I was younger and we would take trips. I was the navigator, my husband was the driver, and I would get this big old map out. I don't remember what the name of the company was that had the big book that you could, anyway. So this big old map, and I would be able to trace the roads that we wanted to take and so forth. That's how we navigated when we were young. Is this big old map of the state of Nebraska, right? And then I would be able to kind of see what roads we wanted to take. I want to say, as I grabbed this picture, I thought it was really interesting because He is clearly bitching about it, and she is responding because look at which finger she's pointing with. I think that's hilarious. Anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. Okay, the idea here, and I'm going to take a quick aside. This is the Las Vegas Strip, and notice where the Tuscany is. It's just 2 blocks off of the Strip, which is where we're having our retreat. Okay, so what I want to talk about is maps. Maps have changed, and it's by the very nature of technology, maps have changed. I hate using like Waze or whatever, right? The maps that Google Maps, right? I hate using them because it tells you, because sometimes south is on the top. I don't like south on the top. North is at the top. North is always at the top. South is at the bottom, right? Always. And then suddenly I'm telling my husband, we're going the wrong direction, but the little thing is moving in the right direction, but we're going south and it's at the top. It's like, drives me crazy. So I know you can change that, by the way. My sister told me that the other day. But what I want to talk about, the reason that this matter is I am really bad at blindly following instructions. To blindly just say, okay, take this next, okay, take a left and end up in a lake somewhere right now. So I want to see the big picture. I need to see the big picture, and then I can focus on the details. And what's happening with the minds of people today is they don't need to see the big picture. I can't even get the list of what are all the things I'm doing. It could be my own thing, fine. Could be my own strangeness, fine. But the real issue here is I want to see the big picture. Maybe because I'm accustomed to seeing the big picture. Maybe there's fear tied to this. I don't know. But I like seeing the big picture. And to me, that's the reason I'm talking about that, is because I think that's what step 4 is about. A lot of people do not. But I feel very strongly, and I'm going to talk about what I mean by searching and thorough, right? So once again, step 4 is we made a searching and thorough moral inventory of ourselves. And those of you that have been around the 12 steps for a long time, people are like, dig deep, make sure you feel really bad about yourself. I do not believe that is what step 4 is about. If we keep in mind that Bill W. was working with gutter drunks over a weekend, different animal than what the world that we live in today, and a different focus on things than what we're doing today. So I want to talk just basically, how do I define this? And this is a fresh view of step 4. Okay, so first of all, searching and thorough is wide searching, not searching deep like that. No, wide. It's a broad view of things. And it is wide, not deep. And it is looking at patterns, not specifics. Especially if you've been through steps already and all that, we're not looking at specifics anymore. What we're looking for are patterns. That's what we're searching for, are the patterns that keep showing up in our lives, right? We want to see those patterns. And once again, our behaviors and feelings that we are in, like denying, they're probably in our blind spot. We don't always see those, right? Until we get a chance to be searching and thorough, and then we get a chance to see that. Okay, I now bring them into the sunshine, into the sunlight of the spirit, and I see the pattern. And that is what makes it thorough, is because I see the pattern. Oh, I consistently, maybe not constantly, but consistently return to this, right? Mine is control taking, right? I'm an 8. That's what I do. I take control of things, right? So it doesn't mean I always see it immediately. I now see it in a day. It used to take me a decade. So, I'm much better now. So, but the idea is what we're doing in step 4 is we are looking for the patterns that show up in our life over and over again, because that is the only way. If we see them, we can work on them. If we don't see them, we can't. And then I want to talk about an inventory. That's my background. I sold software to warehouses. So I've done countless inventories in my life. And there are 2 things that have 2 different sections of an inventory that make it effective. Most people don't think about that, but it is actually 2 things. The first is there is a count. And that means you get it on paper quickly. And it's not 100% perfect. I'm just getting it on paper so I know what's in the warehouse, right? So that I know basically what's the stuff that's going on. And then the second part is the analysis. They cannot be together. If they're together, it gets real, right? No. So what we want to get it all on paper, right? And it's in big chunks, not little bitty pieces like that. And then we analyze it, right? And that is what allows us to separate what they say, the wheat from the chaff. It allows us to separate what is valuable from what is not valuable at this time. So we basically get to separate those things out so I can work on the things that will improve my life as dramatically as possible. And that's what we're trying to do in step 4. we're going to talk about an isolated incident that probably has happened in your life. And then instead of looking at the isolated incident, how do you look at the pattern instead? And then why do we do the work, right? Because sometimes we think we're doing the work because of, so I'll use an example of an 8. No, I'll use an example of a 1. A 1 may say, I want to do the work because I want to be able to see when I am being a perfectionist. Well, you know what? That's not why you do the work, right? There's another reason that you're doing that work, right? Or the 2 may say, I want to do this because I want to be able to see when I'm over giving, right? No, that's not why you do the work. Why you want to recognize that, but you do the work because you want a better life. You want a better way to view things, a better way to live your life, right? But you have to be able to see that first. So I'm going to go through this. And once again, when I have a slide like this, what I'm covering for you guys is all of the details for, it's the big picture, all of basically the details for each of the different types, because we're going to be talking relationships, right? The details of the different types. And then, of course, when you do the work, you'll go deeper into your own type. This is from each of the types out from where you're working. So you'll recognize it when you go in to do your homework. You'll see, oh, yeah, this is what Cher was talking about when she talked about my type. Okay. All right. So, all right. For the 1, the isolated incident may be something like, hey, they didn't do that right. The pattern is frustrated and then turns into self-critical, which I think is fascinating. Now, why does a 1 do the work? It is not to prove that they are wrong. It is to be basically for their greater power to invite them into grace and balance. So if they live in grace and balance, way better than the other, that's the direction that they're moving. For the 2, all right, the 2, they'll say, they didn't appreciate me. They didn't tell me thank you. They didn't, at least enough. And the actual pattern is overgiving and not speaking about their needs, not telling people what they need. Okay, why they do the work? It is not to prove that they shouldn't feel resentful. I know so many 2s that are working on not feeling resentful. No, right? The invitation from your greater power is to invite you to clearer boundaries, which gives you then cleaner love. All right, for the 3, they didn't see what I did. Look at all these wonderful things I did, and they didn't see that I did it. All right. The pattern then is recognition, comparing, and presenting an image instead of their true self. Why do they do the work? It is not to prove that they're selfless or shallow. No, it is for their greater power to invite them to be authentic, to be real, and to be able to rest. Because that image, that takes a lot of energy to keep up the image. It does. Okay. For the 4, an isolated incidents where they didn't understand me. They didn't understand what I needed. They didn't understand me. The pattern is that they feel unseen, they feel less than, and they feel misunderstood. That is the pattern that happens. Now, why do they do the work? It is not to prove to themselves yet again, that they feel too much. No, it is their greater power inviting them to a steadier self-worth, right? Which allows for healthier connections. Because if they have a steady self-worth, then the connections will happen almost seamlessly, right? And they're healthier than they would be if they're not feeling that way. And this is what you have to look forward to. For the 5, they wanted too much from me. And is a thing, right? But the pattern is emotional distance and feeling invaded, feeling like their space is invaded, right? That's the pattern that happens with them. Now, why did they do the work? Okay, it is not to prove that they were right to pull away. It's that their greater power is inviting them to more presence, to trust, and then that gives them a shared life. And I feel like my husband and I, we work on this, right? Because he does share my life, and it is a shared life. He's pretty quiet with other people, but not with me. Okay, for the 6, they let me down, right? Someone let them down is the isolated incident. The pattern is doubt, vigilance, and scanning for threats. That's the pattern of the 6. Now, why do we do the work? It is not to judge your fears. 6s live in judgment of fears because they've been told their whole lives, you shouldn't be afraid. Well, good. That's really helpful. All right. Okay. So what is their greater power inviting them to? They are gently invited to trust and inner security. Know that they do know the right thing to do, that things will work out the way it's supposed to, and so forth. For the 7, they limited me. So a lot of times what will happen, 7s will get out of there because they feel like someone's limited them. But the actual pattern of restriction of some sort, they feel a restriction and they're avoiding their discomfort. Okay, why do they do the work? It is not to shame their love of joy. It's to be invited to a more grounded freedom, which means they can stay put and be happy, right? They don't have to leave. For the 8, they betrayed me, right? The pattern isn't betrayal. The pattern is a feeling of disrespect, maybe betrayal, and also control. I've lost something that I'm looking for, or I feel like I've lost something that I'm looking for. Okay, so why does an 8 do the work? To recognize protection strategies, right? All the shit that I do that is not good, it's every bit of it is a protection stat, either of myself or of other people. And I'm invited by my higher power to see the tender need that is under that, that is safety and dignity. There's a tender need that's under all of that, that's tied to fear, certainly. Okay, and then for the 9, they didn't consider me. They didn't even think about me. They didn't consider me at all. The pattern is quiet. Sometimes they merge with others and become basically nobody. And they almost always will minimize themselves. That's the pattern that happens with the 9. And why they do the work, it is not to blame themselves for wanting peace. It's that they're invited into an honest presence that allows them to be at peace in the world as well. So now that I've said this, what patterns do you know are part of your ego protection? I'm going to stop sharing. And this is what we're going to share on right now. What patterns do you know are part of your ego's protection? Does anybody want to share on that? This is the work you're going to be doing this week, so it won't be fully formed for sure, but it is the work that you're going to be doing this week. Go ahead, Kay.
Thank you,
Oh.
Cher.
Uh-huh.
I did not understand very well, but going back, I just felt a terrible betrayal a couple of hours ago. And I was thinking about my injuries. I know that's not the word of my childhood. And the one that I chose was betrayal. Betrayal. Now that we are talking about the patterns is betrayal, and it hurts very, very much. Okay. And then I understood the patterns of the ego is things have to be as I want them to be.
Yeah.
Not as life says. They have to be as I want them to be. Where I don't understand is I am saying this because it says recognize protection strategies, confront and dominate. That means the things have to be done as I say, as I just said before, no? And I am losing my control and I cannot dominate life. Okay, Cher? But now
Yeah.
the other thing in blue means what God wants. I mean, what the higher power wants. Invite me to see the tender need. What is a fucking tender need? Under
So,
safety and dignity? I don't understand that.
okay, so thank you for the F-bomb. I'm just kidding. So here at least is the way that I look at it, right? The one in the blue or whatever, that basically says, if your life was at peace and your basic fear was not driving you, what would your life look like? Right? And if I recognize, and once again, what 8s do, and there's just a small handful of 8s here, and what 8s do in the lower levels, in even average health, we look for betrayal everywhere. We're waiting to be betrayed. We look for betrayal everywhere. Well, what a horrible way to live your life. And so if I can say, why am I looking for betrayal? This is really interesting because it used to be, I'm betrayed. I see it everywhere. Okay, stop. No, this person, unless they're intending to betray me, they're not betraying me. They're just living their life. I'm telling myself the story that I'm betrayed. Why am I doing that? Now here is the tender part underneath. Because I'm afraid. Because that is a protection of mine, right? The protection that says, this shield says, I will not allow people to betray. No. If I can recognize the soft belly, the soft underbelly that says, that tender emotion that says, I don't need to control. I think I do. I think I need to control life. This is why, by the way, we do a 12-step. If I can return to step 1 and say, I am fucking powerless over reality. I am not supposed to be in control, but I think I'm supposed to. And that starts all of that. And then, oh, I'm betrayed over here and I can't control this. And no, that's not a way to live your life. The way to live your life is to realize there's a soft under part. There's a underneath all of it. There's a soft part. And Joy, I know you've known me for so many years and you've seen me turn softer because now I realize, no, this isn't betrayal. They're doing whatever they do. It has nothing to do with me. And so I get to live in that soft part that's under me. I don't always. Last week I was a fucking train wreck. This week I'm much better and no drugs are involved. Anyway, but the idea is when I feel if I'm seeing betrayal, especially because the vast majority of the time there is no betrayal. I'm just seeing it. And if I can let that go, then that means the softer part of me shows up. And that's what I want. So Katya, Kay, all that means is that the, the need to control, the need to be in charge, the need to dominate, all of that gets softened. Does it go away? No, it doesn't go away. If it stands in the way of my usefulness, is what I pray to God. If this is standing in the way of my usefulness, help me get over it. If it's not, she left. Go ahead, Charlene.
Yeah, I have a burning question, and I don't want to be too personal, but
Okay.
Chair, I think you titled type ones as perfectionists, and I'm wondering where that title comes from. And I asked my breakout group, I mentioned it because I don't really think I'm a perfectionist. However, I think I am able to, or I have a desire or want things to be better. So I would have changed they want others to do better rather than do it right. Because, and I don't know if it's because I've been in program or recovery that I've let go of the perfectionist idea, but I don't think I ever was a perfectionist. But maybe I'm not a type one, but I really think I am. So that's my question.
This book title of one of the titles is The Perfectionist. So
I thought it was the reformer.
It's the teacher, the activist, the crusader, the moralist, the perfectionist. Yeah, perfectionist is one of the things here. And I don't think that ones, I have to say, I don't think ones expect other people to be perfect. They expect themselves to be perfect. It's really rare for them to expect others to be, but they do expect themselves to be in some form or other, right? Now, as you grow spiritually, you realize you can't be, right? That's part of the softening of the one, is they realize I can't be perfect, nor can anyone else. And so rather than being correcting and all that, what you do is you move, and we're going to cover some of that here in a minute too. And that may resonate more with you. Go ahead.
Well, the titles Reformer and Merciful Teacher, they fit me, I think, as a reformer and a teacher rather than a perfectionist. And so, but I'd be interested to hear what other type ones, if they, yeah, because is the title a healthy type one or an unhealthy type one?
Well, so first of all, the merciful teacher, the title that I put on the icons, all of those came from Michael Naylor's book.
Okay.
Right. Which is once you have grown spiritually and you're doing the work and you're all of that, you become more like that. So yes, most of the ones that I know are merciful teachers. Most of the ones that are in my life are that because the only people I surround myself with recovered people. Right. So, and that is the case. So the less healthy, and it just means that their ego is more in charge. And when they are healthier, the ego is less in charge. It doesn't mean it's never in charge. It jumps up without our permission. But mostly it's not that. And so we live a life awake. And when we live a life awake, then that does not show up. So you've been in program a while, right? And as a result of that, you've grown spiritually. And so that perfectionist, and maybe never was there, right? Because there's, when you add in all the instincts and all that stuff, right? That's why we're all so unique. And you've added in, what are the other types have you pulled in? You have a strong wing 2, right? So some of them have a strong wing 9. So it just depends. So thank you for that, Charlene.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You bet. Go ahead, Rosalind.
Thanks, Cheryl. I forgot what the question was, but
what patterns do you know are part of your ego? Okay. Ego's protection.
Thank you. That would be for me. I want to belong, which is a 4. I want to be understood. I want to feel like I'm not being left out. Those are all the patterns that I'm starting to recognize thanks to the Enneagram type, and typing me. But you said something that just switched my whole chain of thought. And you said that softening. I just had a conversation with my sponsor just the other day, and she used the word softening. I just used this today in our meeting. She used the word softening, and that really clicked. So I'm learning that the quicker I can turn over those feelings, those patterns, the quicker I can have that change, that sufficient change, that spiritual awakening that will make me act different, do different, and not stay in that, oh, it's all about me. I wish I could control everything. So thank you for this. I just so appreciate you and the time you spend in this and the growth that everybody's getting from this. So thank you, Cheryl, for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. Yeah, and I want to say I used to say the 8 it's a softening. It's a softening for everybody. It's this, but once again, everything happens in this sequence, and this is taught through, I think, Al-Anon. Awareness comes first, and then there's the acceptance of the awareness, and then is the action, right? And it happens on all the different things over and over again, right? I see it, and first I go, oh no, and then I soften toward it, then I'll accept it in some form or other, and then I can take action on it, and that's how we change.
Absolutely, and just recognizing, I didn't even know what a pattern was. You know what I'm saying? And it was all about me, me wanting to control it, me wanting it to be the way. So it's always what I want. I'm recognizing why I felt so bad. It wasn't about them, it's what I want. So I'm understanding that now. And it is just like so enlightening and so revelating.
It is. And it's life-changing.
Yes.
Right. And I want to say too, we do racket sheets there. If you go to Supercharge 1.0, step 6 are where the racket sheets are across from that. And if I'm stuck in a pattern and I'm like, what, this happens all the time. It's like, okay, do a racket sheet on it. You are getting something out of this or you wouldn't continue doing it. Absolutely. Right. Is what I want to find out. I can see the harm. I can feel the harm. This is awful, right? But why do I continue to do that? Yeah, so that's a good thing. Thank you, Rosalind. Go ahead, Joy.
So mine is not to prove you shouldn't feel resentful. That's the one on the sheet. I just believed that my whole life that I shouldn't feel resentful. Hence the smile on my face is when I get in a car accident, or something bad is going on. What I think really is it's not only invited to clearer boundaries, and of course that leads to cleaner love, by the way, but it's to be clear in my conversations. It may be clear with other people. And I couldn't be before because I was so out of touch with my feelings because I couldn't feel. Right? If in my mind, if others were going to be happy. 2 things happened recently that are just amazing. I'm watching myself being more in touch. I'm not completely in touch with what I think and feel. What I realized, okay, so choose want to be wanted. That's the love, right? So my husband's going to San Diego and he says, do you want to go? And I am thinking to myself, at least I know now, before I would go in a heartbeat, right? I'm going, you're going to go, I'm going to go. But I'm thinking to myself, well, I only want to go if he wants me to go. And you know what the root of that is? It's true. Here's why. And he has a hard time. He's a 6 saying that he wants me to go. But now, okay, why do I want to go if he wants me to go? I like it. I like making other people happy. I like it. So before, I think it was to get love and appreciation. But just as much as he likes playing his video games or going gambling, I like figuring out what makes other people happy. But I know it could be wrong. I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's not going to make him happy if I go like happier. So how we got through this discussion is he said, well, it's icing on the cake. And I'm like, oh, if it's a little bit of icing, I can make you happy. So I know now why knowing why makes me want to do more giving things. And I'm not a saint and I'm not more wonderful or sensitive. It makes me happy, but I have to make sure and check in. I want to share one more thing. My son today, his friends were coming over. Okay. He wanted to know if I wanted to go to lunch with them. He's a 4. He was so busy trying to figure out, and I noticed it in the moment. And I told him, I said, "You're so busy caring what my feelings are that you want to make sure that it's going to be okay with my food plan, that if I want to go, I go. And I'm so busy trying to please you to decide if you want me to go or you don't want me to go." So when I said that, I said, basically, give me a minute. And I realized, got in touch with myself, I wanted to go. He's home from Indiana. I want to go. And I said, let me make this clear for you. I want you to wait for me. And then, this is amazing because I can see what's happening in all my relationships now. Just it's making life cleaner, love, cleaner life, clarity. Thanks.
Uh-huh. I can't wait to cover the next section. You're going to love it, Joy. All right, Joanne, and then Tamara, and then we're going to move on to the next section. Go ahead, Joanne.
I think, yeah, just on the thing that was posted about so you said for the type 1, the incident is that they didn't do it right. So my pattern is I'm frustrated and self-critical. And you made a comment that that's interesting. So can you just expand on that? You said,
yeah,
I'm frustrated with people.
So sometimes this is part of the growth pattern of a 1 is somebody didn't do something correctly. Like it's misspelled, it's something like that, right? And you're frustrated by it. And then there's a twist that happens there that makes the 1, as they grow, they become self-critical of the fact that they noticed. And that's what I find interesting, right? Is because the 1s, and once again, 8, 9, and 1, right? Their main emotion is anger. And the 1s move anger inward. The 9s deny anger, but the 1s turn it around at themselves. Yeah. So that's why when I was reading that, I thought it was really interesting because it says they get frustrated with the other person and then they get critical of themselves for getting frustrated at the other person, even if they don't speak it out, because everything gets turned inward. Right. The anger gets turned inward. I just think that's interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. All right, Tamara, to you, and then we're going to wrap this up and move to the next section.
All right, real quick, hopefully. What patterns do I know are part of my ego's protection? So my theme right now and in the breakout room is acknowledge and recognize. Recognize and acknowledge, and I'm aware, and I'm softening to the fact that I am an accumulator and not an assimilator. And that is an ego protection that is about a situation arises for myself or somebody else. I immediately, and this harkens back to last week's stuff, I want instant answers. I go to the internet. I go to a resource. I want to be able to get the information so that I am protected. I know more. I know the coolest tool. I'll just finish, and this is would take forever, but sitting here listening, I realized 2 incidences in my life relate to this. One, very young child. My father had an explosive reaction to something. I, to this day, do not know what I did. 2, my husband, my daughter, and our friend died in a rafting accident. I normally would have been the person coordinating all of the logistics. And there's a part of me that continues to think that if I had been that person and if I had just known, then it wouldn't have happened. My stepdaughter, was doing an internship with her dad that summer, and she did all the logistics, and I had another job. And so those 2, it just came to me. Those 2 core incidences they're just hooked into me. And so that's part of my work, is to unhook from that, because that's not happening right now. And I am swimming in information overload. And so thank you. That's all I want to share right now.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me share that and come to this.
And Tamara, I think what happens with all of us, That's why I am curious about IFS. Someday I probably will do something with that, right? But it's like when we have these traumatic experiences, it's like there's a part of us that freezes in that, right? And you all know when I was 14, my family had a car accident that eventually killed my mother. And it's like, so there's parts of me that are frozen at that 14-year-old. And this work helps me uncover those things and go, what the hell? I've told this story before. My therapist, because way back then, this was in 1969, ambulances didn't have anything in it. They were just like an empty van that they threw the people in, right? So my sister and brother and I and my dad are sitting there, and there's my mother on a stretcher because she was in really bad shape, and the guy was dead that hit us, and his arms flapping around, and I'm like completely traumatized by that, right? And so I finally, when I'm 70 or 68 or whatever I was, talk to the therapist about that, because that is like, oh my God, that image, all of that is left over, right? And it boiled down to the fact that had I not left the mustard in the house where I had to go get it and come bring it, we would have been at a different time, right? So Tamara, this does tie to what you're saying. If I had been able to fill in the blank, it would have been different. Well, yeah, but you know what? Now I have a greater power that I basically leave that up to him. That's not up to me, right? And who knows what else would have happened if, you know what I mean? So it's like I get that, but I can understand the need for control. And I thought everybody felt the same way. And now studying the Enneagram, I realized not everybody does. And we have different reasons for whatever that is. But Tamara, and I'll tell you, when Joy talks about the fact that this work is uncomfortable, this is uncomfortable work, right? But we don't need to feel comfortable right now. Feel uncomfortable. That's fine. Discomfort is okay. Because wait,
Well,
ready?
and
ready
we
for the
get,
quote? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, we get social reinforcement for our ego's protective strategies. Like you get a
Absolutely.
lot from controlling all of what you control here and all you've controlled. I get a lot of reinforcement for being the go-to person. Oh, give it to her, she will figure it out. It's killing me. Or it's stunting me. It's not
But
killing me.
but yes, and I will say this is the thing, because our ego is smart enough to know, oh, okay, this gets me good things. Okay, right? And it's like, set that aside. I want to grow. I want to grow spiritually. I want to be closer to my greater power, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah. All right. So we are going to move on. Rosalind, I see. Okay, we're good. Okay. So Rosalind and Francine, your hands were up. I'll catch you on the other side of this thing. Okay. Topic 2 is the fear inventory. You are going to do a fear inventory, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. You'll see when you go deeper into that than we did last time, than you usually do. We're going to talk about the core fear. And I want to, before I do this piece of it, what I want to do, I want to talk about the fear is always, if I don't fill in the blank, core fear jumps in. What do we replace that with? And once again, we cannot just go, and therefore I replace that. It is the work that we're doing that allows us to replace it. And so this ties, Charlene and Kay, to what I talked about earlier. Kind of the bright colored thing says, this is what you have to look forward to as you grow spiritually. That's really what we're trying to do, is grow so that it's more God than me, and we can grow spiritually. What will that look like? Because that gives us, it's aspirational for us to say, wouldn't that be nice? Like for a 9 to say, wouldn't that be nice to be in the world and be at peace, as opposed to feeling like I have to hide, or I have to go away, or I have to numb out, or I have to whatever, right? So that's what this is about. So let me cover this real quickly. So once again, for the 1, if I don't do things perfectly, core fear is that I'm bad or will be rejected. That is the core fear of the 1. You can replace that with, replace your demands for perfection with a kinder, truer guidance. And that comes from your greater power, right? So imagine, and once again, as you're growing spiritually, this is exactly what happens. Those demands for perfection become kinder, and they become a truer guidance, right? The ability to be able to say, is this a big deal? Is this important for me to mention this? Is this important for me to even notice this? That is how it softens. And all of it is about softening. Okay, for the 2, if I don't make myself needed by those people, or need less of my own needs, not to have any needs at all, the core fear is that they'll be forgotten, or that they'll become too much for other people. If they don't make themselves needed or need less, they will be forgotten or left alone or whatever, and become too much. And you can replace those fears with your worth is not earned by caretaking. If you can live in a place where you understand as a 2 that your worth is not earned by caretaking, you already have worth before you even do anything, right? That is a worthy message for the 2. I'll put it that way. For the 3, if I don't seem successful, I am nothing. That's what the 3 fears, that if they are not, because their worth is like almost 100% tied to their accomplishments. Okay, that can be replaced with that your need for successful, right, to be successful is a truer identity that you get from your greater power. Your greater power says, here is the authentic you. It is a softer version, still successful. It's just not necessary to be successful. Okay, for the 4, if I don't become a better person, whatever better means, I am nothing. People will leave me. And that gets replaced with understanding that your worth is real. And when you understand that, you become stable and held, and you understand that you're held by your greater power. And then there's stability there. Okay. For the 5, if I don't isolate and just observe, I'll be overwhelmed or taken over. And they get to replace that with knowing that they are supported, resourced, and not alone. For the 6, if I don't prepare for the worst, the core fear is that something will go terribly wrong. And Tamara, this is tied, even looking back to the thing you talked about with the accident that took your husband and daughter, that if you don't prepare for the worst, right, isn't there something in you that says something will go terribly wrong? And some of it is proven because something did, but your feeling is that, right, even now you're realizing that feeling still exists inside of you. It says replace those fears by making your greater power your source of safety and guidance. And once again, Tamara, I didn't say this to you before, but I do think there's the 5 loves knowledge and accumulates knowledge. And so, and you have the wing to the 5. So there's some of that there as well. Okay. For the 7, if I don't break free, I will be stuck in pain is the core fear. And that gets replaced with the capacity to stay in the present moment, right? You replace the need to leave with the capacity to stay in the present moment, because this is the only thing that is real, is now, right now. Okay, for the 8, if I don't control, my core fear is that I will be hurt, used, or erased. And I replace that with a trust-based power, in belief, I guess, in my greater power. Rather than domination, I replace domination, taking over, being in control, with trusting. All right, and then for the 9, if I don't stay silent and have peace, the core fear is that I will lose connections and that things will fall apart. And if you can replace that with the truth can keep you safe, right? Being in the present, you can stay safe, even staying present. Would you like to replace your fear with the better choice? And I don't know. I know Rosalind had your hand up and Francine had your hand up. So if you guys want to share on this, we've got a few minutes before that goes. Rosalind, is that a yes?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say just what you just put up, that I'm nothing and people will leave. That's it. And I'm picking these up now so quickly. Like my mom left when I was 9. My sister left. My friends leave. So I isolate myself so that you don't leave. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to leave me. I'm good. Right. So thank you. I'm good with this one.
Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you. Francine, did you want to share now?
Here I am.
There you are. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I woke up with a question on my mind this morning, actually. And the question is, what happened to my little girl nervous system when I heard my father tell my mom he was leaving? And so they had no clue that I was sitting there on the basement stairs in the dark. I was trying to just really think it out and connect the dot with what's the connection as a type 9, right? And so I think what really came out of it is that my pattern is that when anyone shares that they're leaving or they leave or they don't stay, whatever it is, my pattern is exactly that little girl who was sitting on those stairs. She freezes, She held everything inside of her. She never expressed her feelings. She was never comforted. She was all those things. And that's my pattern. I don't express what I feel when someone leaves. As an adult, it was the food, that was soothing. But yeah, I can see that pattern now. And so what I didn't even realize is that as I started journaling about this morning, I had no clue it was going to lead me to, I've been feeling anxious that my boss is leaving. He's going to have a new assignment. It hasn't been announced, but we all think that this is going to happen. And so he has been probably the best boss, like person I ever worked with. His leadership style, everything has been just like everything I needed in my life at this moment. And so that anxiousness. And so I have an opportunity here to see the pattern is happening and to do something differently before it happens. And to it's not really like preparing myself, but like choosing something else other than the fear, right? Or so yeah, this is exactly what's happening. And you know, and what happens in my nervous system with all of that. It's like it's happening again. Every time someone leaves, that part of me just that comes about again. So that's what I wanted to
Thank you,
share.
Francine. And I want to say too, this is what I'm learning is I've always tried to solve whatever the problem is, right? In my mind. So my boss, I love this boss and he's leaving. Okay, logically, of course he has, right? Logical. No, these are feelings and in your body. And so if you can solve all you want in your mind, if you're not getting into where it's your heart and your body, right? Even the feelings of that little 9-year-old girl as she sat on the stairs, it's like I am just learning this. Most of you already know this. Bam, I'm right back to that little 9-year-old on the stairs. I am right back there. In my body, I'm there. In my heart, I am there. And it doesn't matter what I do in my head, it's not going to fix it. It has to be heart and body. It has to be that. And I'm just now learning that, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. Don't want to go there, right? It's like, okay, calm down. And
Yeah.
I'm just now beginning to learn that stuff. And it's like, okay, because I'm looking, I want the happiest, most peaceful, lovely life I can have. And I can only have that if I'm willing to do the work that is beyond the work I've done in the past. And that's why going deeper exists, because it's like it's one more layer. For some people, for me, it's a lot of layers because I'm actually doing the homework this time, right? And last time I kind of sort of did. This time I literally am doing the homework, and it's kicking my ass, I have to tell you. But it's good. It's good because I feel like I am going into my heart. I am going into, right? Anyway, so thank you so much for sharing that, Francine. And I think that's exactly what happens. We are right back in that. And I don't think I ever realized that. A lot of people do realize that because you've done therapy or whatever, and you realize that that's what happens. But I didn't know that. And I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Charlene.
For share, my burning question really is, because my step one is admitted I'm powerless over my desire to help others, my life has become unmanageable. So now the step four inventory, in my desire to help others do better, and also I want to do better. I don't need to be perfect, though. I do believe that. Although, if I'm not careful, I do get carried away for that. Um, so, in my desire to help others, um, and I don't want to be rejected, how do I best help others? Can I look at their fear, what I'm thinking, or what do I do with that fear of being rejected and my desire to help others? And I can look at that chart. I think that will be helpful to recognize what other types fears are, even if I don't know their type.
So one thing I would say is recognize their fear, understand that they may have that fear if you know their type, but don't say it. I made the mistake when I first learned this that I said, oh, you're afraid. I said that out loud. And the person's like, no, I'm not. It's like, okay, oops. So you don't do that. I think, yeah, if it gives you insight, that's great. So help others. You even said to be better. That's a very one kind of view of the world. Twos, try to help them to be loved. All of us try to help other people for different reasons because we're motivated. I would say, from what you're saying, I would say look less at the fear and more at the desire, which we'll cover next week as part of that, I think, or maybe the week after. But one of the weeks coming up, we talk about the basic desire of each of the types, which isn't always exactly opposite of the fear, but it is a little bit opposite. So when we get to that part, but for right now, just do this work because this is all about relationships. This first 3 steps are about relationship with your greater power. And pretty much from here on out is relationships with other people. So I think it'll make sense, make more sense to you as you work the other steps, right? But those first 3 is let's get a solid view of what we view as our greater power. And I think each of us have a different view. We're supposed to, in my opinion, we're supposed to have a different view of what our greater power is. It's like the facets of a diamond. We see different facets depending upon what we need. He is all in everything. So, but the facets that I need are what I need to see at that time. That's my view. I mean, that's Sherry's view of the world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so do my work.
Just keep doing your work.
Yes.
Just keep it up.
Okay, thank you.
Just keep doing the work. Yep. All right, Tanya, did you, and then Lori. Go ahead, Tanya.
Hi, Cheryl. As a 7, I feel like the only one ever present 7. Every time you come out with these charts, I really resonate with both the 6 and the 8, and I feel like I just settle in the 7 in between. But the interesting thing, like prepare for the worst, that hypervigilance and always looking around really relate to that from the 6. And the 8, the control, it's like I really relate to that as well. And I have a strong 8 wing. But it's interesting. Everyone's talking about people leaving. And clearly in my chart, it says I'm the one who's going to leave. I'm not afraid of people leaving. And I think, unfortunately, because I couldn't, it all, the main hurt was my father. He's a narcissist, and he would take positive or negative energy. And I feel like no matter what I would do or say, he'd never leave. And my parents would, like, I prayed for divorce. My parents met when they were 16. They died still married, hating each other, but still married. It's like they wouldn't leave. And I used to, as I said, I prayed for divorce, and my parents thought that I was scared they wouldn't. My dad thought they wouldn't be together. Or it's like I'm not going anywhere. And I always thought it was ironic that my dad wouldn't leave, no matter what anyone said or did. And I'm the one who's always trying to leave. Like I'm the one who's not willing to be vulnerable in my relationships, and I'm the one who's always got my foot out the door. And just seeing that side of me reflected so clearly. That's a clear pattern. Um, just had to say something because it's just like, wow, are 7s the only ones who aren't afraid of leaving? Because they're going to leave first, I guess. I will leave first. And even if I don't, if I'm threatening to leave, they'll feel it and get upset maybe. But yeah, I'm always the first one to run out the door. So that's just very interesting. I had to share that thought. So thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. And this is what's cool. When we do step forward this way, it's the pattern that we're looking for. It's not the list of all the time, right? It's the pattern, because it's the pattern that we're going to work on. That's what we have to work on, especially as so many of us have been through the steps so many times. It's like, and I don't know about anybody else, but it's like it was slow and painful progress every time I worked the steps, and I went into self-contempt and I'm hating myself because here it is again, right? And that's because I didn't really identify what the problem was, because I was so busy looking at the little nits of stuff instead of the pattern that is showing up, right? The map of what is happening. And so when we start working on step 4, we're going to do, the assignment is going to be, the very first one is pattern mapping. How do I map the patterns that I keep seeing, right? And not all patterns that we have are painful, by the way, and not all, because it's by our type, it's not they're wrong. It's like get in the way of my happy life, right? That's really what's happening. It's like, I want to be happier than I am. I want to be more at peace. I want to be more helpful. I want to be all the good things that we've experienced. I want to love better. I want to be loved better, all of that. And I can do that when I recognize the patterns and I interrupt those patterns, because those patterns are created by that ego that jumps up and says, wait, this will be better. This is better. It's like, no, you don't get to tell me that. My true self is the one that I want to show to the world and be present with. Thank you, Tanya. All right, Lori,
You want
to you.
to just one last thing.
Go
I
ahead.
see like in the chat people talking about they withdraw. It's like, yeah, the physical leaving I may not do, but oh, I disassociate and withdraw all the time. But physically I stay, which is sort of weird and interesting as well. It's like,
That
because
is
I know how
interesting.
to disassociate and withdraw from the situation. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lori, to you.
Yeah, I will just comment on that because I was involved in that chat. Is mine is that I won't leave. I don't have. I generally won't leave, but I have. But I retreat, and as I said, that will cause others to leave because I pulled back and removed myself emotionally, although I might physically still be there. So that's a that's a
Yeah.
9 thing, I think.
It is for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the homework assignment is to read step 4 of the Supercharge 1.0. Just kind of read through that. Don't do the homework, just do that. And then you're going to go to Going Deeper, which is bottom of the page. Click on that, and you're going to do section A and B. A and B. And it's more work than you've done in these last few weeks. So give yourself some time to do that. And once again, awareness, acceptance, then action. Let's celebrate our victories. Let that finish. There we go. All right. And celebrate your victories, all the stuff that you guys are talking about, right? Including your heart and body. That's part of it. And then once again, your basic fear is type specific. So do study that if you want. On the opposite side of that is the basic desire that each of the types have. And then here's your homework.
Thanks for recovering with us.